Okay, the next president of the 20th century that we're going to be doing is Calvin Coolidge. He served from 1923 to 1929. He was the 30th president of the United States. He had the nickname of Silent Cal, obviously because he didn't speak very much. There was one story where he was at the White House and this lady said, "Mr. President, I bet I can get you to say more than 2 words." And he said, "You lose." And he presided in an era with corruption, greed, but also a lot of money. That was a big thing in the Roaring '20s. The economy was booming after World War I, industry booming, but at the same time, corruption and greed, like I said.
All right, so he was president during the Roaring '20s, and so his philosophy was that everyone was doing well because of the big economic boom. That the government stays out of everyone's life. That because people were doing well, that there was no reason for the government to get involved. That the government could stay on track of what they needed to do, and people could do what they needed to do because everything was prosperous and good. He was a very firm believer that you have to stay out of people's personal life. That especially during the 1920s, that people were doing well and they were making a lot of money. So why should we ruin a good thing? Was under his philosophy. But we kind of learned later, especially with his stock market crash, that his philosophy in the Roaring '20s kind of led to some bad things.
Okay, Nick.
I'd give him a C.
Why would you give us
I would give him a C because part of his presidency, he was in control of a nation that was roaring, but apparently his change did a bad thing, and then we went into the Depression.
Lee? What you
I would give him a C plus because his like the fact that during his presidency the economy was booming, but obviously eventually the crash shows that his plans were just temporary. Like they just worked for a temporary time.
Peter?
I would give him a D. I think that because of his policies and because his mentality was that the government needed to stay out of everything, that kind of led to the beginning of the Great Depression.
Okay.
I would give him a C minus because I do believe that the Roaring '20s were a great economic time, but I also believe that the staying out of personal lives showed an irresponsibility for his position in government.
I would also give him a C minus. I think that he should be credited to an extent for some things that happened in the Roaring '20s, but a lot of that didn't occur because of the World War I boom. And I think that his whole philosophy of government stay out did work at that time, but you happen to see a couple years later that it really didn't help out at that time.
Yeah, I'd have to give him a C minus. The economy did well, and it's not really the government's job to make sure that it does well or not. And the reason why you had a downturn, no one could imagine that type of economy hadn't existed before, so no one would have known they would have had to regulate it. So I would say C minus is fair.
Okay, so now we will grade Calvin Coolidge. Okay, so after all the grades, we conclude that Calvin Coolidge will be rewarded a C minus.